Welcome back. So today we're going to continue our discussion on the algebraic methods of solving systems of linear equations. Now, I'm really excited for today because this is actually a method I never got to learn in high school. And it's a super fun method, but I didn't see it until I started teaching. So let's dive into our second method. This is going to be solving by elimination. Solving by elimination does is it asks you to identify a variable that has the same coefficient in both equations. So for this first one, that would be the x. Notice, now again, the sign doesn't matter, plus or minus, but you want to identify the 3 with the x, because there's a 3x and a negative 3x. The reason that that is important is because what would happen if I could combine my equations? If I add these equations together, what ends up happening? Well, 3x plus a negative 3x, it cancels off. Okay, we eliminate that variable altogether. So it's a pretty awesome method because now that that's gone, look at how easy the rest of the problem is. Y plus 2y is 3y. 19 plus 11 is 30. Just divide by 3, and my y equals 10. So that's the power of elimination, is you can get rid of one of your variables right away as long as it has the same coefficient in both equations. Now, of course, I'm not quite done yet because I need to get an x value. Well, now that I know y, I can simply toss that back in. So 3x plus y, which we know is 10. And now I just get to solve that because now I know what y is. So subtract 10, divide by 3, and I get an x of 3. So my solution to that system is going to be the point 3, 10. All right. So, and again, this takes practice. I consider it a really fun way of solving these, but again, you need practice at it. So let's look at this again. This time, I'm going to identify the y's. Notice the y's are the thing that have the same coefficient, all right? But this time they're the same sign. So simply adding the equations together won't get rid of it. In fact, it'll add to my problem. I'll have a 2y. How do I cancel it? Well, the way to cancel it is this time when they have the same sign, I'm going to subtract my two equations because this time y minus y is how I get it to cancel off. So 2x minus 3x leaves me with a negative 1x. 4 minus 7 is a negative 3. Well, now to get the x by itself, again, just divide by negative 1 to flip the signs. So my x is 3. But of course, I'm not quite finished yet because I still have to go and put that back up, plug it in, so now I can get my other variable. Now I can get y. So 6 plus y equals 4. Subtract the 6, and I get negative 2. So my solution to this system is going to be the point 3, negative 2. All right. Now, of course, sometimes we don't get that nice setup. Okay, we don't always get the easy method. So what do we do when neither lines up? And what I mean by that is neither the x has the same coefficient nor the y. So how can I use elimination if that's the case? Well, the foolproof way, the way that always works, is if you just take the x coefficients and you flip them. So notice this 2 right here. I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to multiply this whole equation by it. I'm going to take this 3 and multiply this whole equation by it. And now Once I run that through, so 6x minus 9y equals 9, 6x plus 2y equals 64. Now look at those x's. Now I can eliminate the x. How can I do that? Well, they're the same sign, so I'm going to subtract those x's. So negative 9y minus 2y is going to be a negative 11y. 9 minus 64 is a negative 55. Divided by negative 11, so I get a y of 5. And now that I know what y is, now I can take that y and I can plug it back into one of the original equations. Notice I used the term original equations. So at this point, I can go back to when the equation looked like that, okay? I don't have to use my altered equation. I can literally go back to the first original equation and use that. Okay, so don't make more work on yourself. Don't make yourself use the bigger numbers. Go back to the nice smaller numbers. So 2x minus 3 times y, which is 5, equals 3. So 2x minus 15 equals 3. Add the 15 to both sides. Divide by 2. And there you have it. So, and I'm going to write that as my solution, 9, 5. So again, not much different once you have that set up properly. So let's work on the next one, which is actually going to wrap up this whole notes for us. Now I do have one typo I need to edit. This should not be negative, okay? This should really just be the number 26. Otherwise, we're going to get some pretty nasty decimals. So if you could please change that, just cross off that negative for me, then your lives are going to be a whole lot easier. So let's take a crack at this. Again, notice my x's don't have the same coefficient and my y's don't have the same coefficient. So I can't eliminate as is. However, what I can do is I can take that 5 and multiply this whole thing by 5. I can take that 2 and multiply that whole thing by 2. And then my x's will line up and be able to be canceled. So that gives me 10x plus 2y equals negative 6. 10x minus 15y equals 130. Now notice my x's can cancel now. So I'm going to subtract this whole equation. They're the same sign, so I can subtract them. 2y minus a negative 15y. Remember, when you're subtracting a negative, that's going to be the same thing as adding. So 2y plus 15y gives me 17y. So again, don't forget, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding. The negative 6 minus 130 gives me negative 136. And again, don't be afraid. Use your calculator. I don't expect you to know all these big numbers off the top of your head. So now divide by 17. And when you do that, you should get a negative 8. But again, that's not quite the end. You have to go back, and again, I'm going to erase this so you can see the original equation. And I'm going to go and put that in. Now, I'm going to do my work down below because I'm running out of space up there. So 5x plus negative 8, so basically minus 8, equals negative 3. I'm going to add the 8 over, so adding 8 to both sides. Negative 3 plus 8 is positive 5. Divide by 5 to give you 1. So for this one, my solution is going to be 1, -8. So again, once you get them matching, the process is exactly the same to the first slide. So now that you've seen that, now I would like you, please write your summary for me, okay? And again, maybe something good would be to summarize the difference between substitution and elimination, just to give you an idea on what you could write. But please make sure to write that down for me and then come back to class ready to do your practice work.